My fellow Canucks, I want you to think of what it means to be a Canadian. The pride of living in a country mixed with so many different cultures. Think about how, when compared to our rowdy neighbors to the south, we're polite to one another, tolerant, living our lives acting courteous, and always being nice to the people around us, not for any personal gain, but because we can. Today I present to you an issue that goes against our standards of what it means to be a Canadian, and what might be the biggest problem we face as a society, not just in Canada, but perhaps even the world. Of course, I am talking about movie theaters. The process of going to a movie is an infuriating experience. Gone are the days of there being a genuine class to going to the movies. Now it seems like every ticket I purchase has a money-back guarantee of having the most annoying people one could possibly find on Earth. I'm sure you've seen them. The ads before the movie telling you to have the common decency to not ruin everyone else's experience. I've probably seen the same Tommy Texter ad for what feels like a decade, and the sad truth is that it's well warranted. Every time I try to see a new action movie with my friends, without fail, there will always be somebody with their screen set to spotlight brightness, texting their friends throughout the movie. Usually it's the average teenager, sometimes it's an adult. I often ask myself what the point of seeing a movie is if you're not going to watch it, but there always seems to be one person who is so disinterested in what's happening on screen that they have to look at their phone and disregard everyone behind them. If you think this terrible behavior is dismissed by people running the theaters, think again. AMC, the biggest movie theater chain in America, in a bid to attract younger audiences, floated the idea of letting moviegoers text in theaters on Twitter, and, unsurprisingly, it was lambasted by a horde of angry Twitter followers. Yes, you heard that right. We had to tell the people running the movie theaters proper theater etiquette. What? Depending on where the texter is in the theater, you could try to ignore them, but there's something much worse a person can do at a movie theater that you can't ignore, and that's intentionally make noise. Let's establish something right now. There's nothing wrong with reacting to a movie. If you find something genuinely hilarious and laugh, you're fine. If you want to make an offhand comment to the person sitting beside you in a hushed voice, that's okay too. If you're constantly talking with your friends about what's happening on screen, go fuck yourself. People like this take many forms, whether it be the theorizers who try to predict to everyone around them how the movie will end or what the twist will be. There can also be what I like to call book dwellers, who feel the need to remind their peers in every scene where the movie differs from the book, and I bet you've heard one of these guys while watching fucking Harry Potter. But the worst offenders by far are the theater comedians. These are the people who feel the need to serenade everyone around them with jokes based on what everyone sees on screen, and I've had times where if one person chuckles a little bit at what they've said, they'll continue to go at it for the rest of the movie. When I watched one of the Thor movies on opening night, one guy kept making jokes that were probably references to the comics, and because he got one nerd who was 5 seats away from him to laugh, he took it as open season to expel every shitty reference he could make to tie it into what we were watching. Both talking and texting are problems that can be solved by getting the person's attention and acting as their stand-in parent, and politely asking them to be quiet. The problem is that doing this creates an awkward tension throughout the movie between you and your fellow moviegoers. I've been that confrontational person multiple times, and after seeing the look of shock on the talker's face, I often ask myself if I was being too harsh. My courteous Canadian values were obviously working against me. Of course, I know I was justified in saying it, but how do I know this disruptor wouldn't stop on their own? It's a hard job being a theater confronter, and it prompts you to have an internal moral dilemma where you question if you were justified, when in actuality, you should have just been trying to enjoy the movie.
I will fuck you, alright? I will enter you.
I know. I'm a conflicted hero, and to all of you who have experienced my work firsthand at your local theater, you're welcome. I went to see Captain Marvel on opening night, and as the film started, Marvel's logo came up, but instead of being juxtaposed by the usual montage of Marvel heroes, there was a montage of the late Stan Lee's cameos. It was a tasteful tribute to the man behind Marvel's most famous heroes, I thought. That was, until a shrill voice from the top left of the theater yelled out, "And I think that deserves an applause! Everyone clap for Stan Lee!" Maybe around 20 people in the theater clapped, when, again, that same shrill voice yelled out, "Oh really? That's it? Don't you guys know he wrote the comics?" And was met with silence. Now, I'm not sure if that particular person was a medium who could sense if the ghost of Stan Lee was looking down at us at that particular point in time, but please, if you're going to clap, have the grace to accept that you might be the only one doing it. Now, I know someone out there might be thinking, why don't I just watch the same movie at home? Well, Other than being forced to wait for months for a movie's Blu-ray to release, I still believe there's merit to being in a proper theater setting. There are details you can miss on a smaller screen, and the quality of the picture and sound really add to the experience. And yes, even though I've complained about them ad nauseum, I actually think there's a benefit to experiencing a movie for the first time with strangers. Infinity War has been my favorite example of this, and I can recall a chilling silence in the packed theater at the end of the movie. I'm sure you all know what scene I'm talking about. Rare will never be the same. I ask you, if our Canadian values are so important to us, then why is it that when we're surrounded by hundreds of other people, some of us choose to be inconsiderate? Today, I openly invite you to do something about it. Tell them to stop, but be polite. Be respectful. It all comes down to being considerate of one another, and maybe if we realize there's 100 other people around us, the experience of the theater won't be so bad. Until then, I'll continue being the hero. Not the one theaters need, but the one they deserve. You're welcome. Hi, I'm Kaznarius. I don't usually make videos like this, but I felt like it this time around. I'm usually busy making Fliff PvP videos, but you can click the screen right now to see a podcast I did with the rest of the cats from this channel about movie tie-in video games. Stay safe out there.